This event, it's about tech, it's about disrupting the business models, AI innovations, and where fashion's going. I've worked in the fashion industry since 90-something, and obviously it's changed an awful lot in those years, from Polaroid and cameras with film and amazing printers, to digital, and then you see the work that the guys at the back are doing, and you can see that it's taking all these innovative steps. And a lot of people feel very left behind by that. We've got a very small to medium enterprised industry in this country, something like 54,500 businesses are SMEs. That could be one person on their own, could be a business of 10. And they don't really know, and we don't really know in the industry either, where it's going and what that feels like. But we're sold that tech is this great white hope, and then you have resistance to that. And that's something that I think some of the speakers are going to pick up on. Who's leading these innovations, what those innovations look like, and whether there is privilege within the system, just as there has been in the old order of who was on the front row or who was in control of companies. So I'm just going to introduce everyone. We've got Jodie Hamilton over here, who's our comms director, but has also got a history of working in the fashion industry and in tech. And all of that's on your agendas, if you've had, which I know I sent to everybody. We have Brooke Roberts-Islam, who has also worked in the fashion industry and in tech. We have Joe Hunter from Vex Generation. We have Adam Thorpe from Vex Generation. We have Ivana Bartoletti, who is the chair of the Fabian Society and has launched an organisation called Women Leading in AI. And then we have Craig Crawford, who has also worked in tech, but for fashion companies such as Burberry.
So currently the fashion industry makes over 32 billion. DCMS, which is the UK's digital, culture, media and sports sectors, say that digital is now worth 130 billion. However, that's slightly counterseded by Tech Nation, who say it's worth 184 billion to the UK economy in 2017. So if we think about digital as part of a kind of cultural media and landscape, we can also factor in the luxury growth sector, of which fashion is part of. Luxury growth has seen an increase in 4 years by 49%. So when you think about fashion and tech together, it's quite difficult to get a stat and break it down. But it sits within a landscape of digital and fashion. And to be fair, the main leaders in the tech space of fashion are luxury end. So we've got to think about that.
Are there many designers in the room, just out of interest? Fashion designers? A handful. And any manufacturers? No, not so many. So you may or may not be familiar with a piece of software called Clo 3D. And Clo is essentially a digital pattern cutting piece of software that allows you to scan in paper pattern pieces and then snap them together in 3 dimensions to view a garment in the piece of software. Now that sounds quite basic, but because of advances in photography and in scanning in the last 5 to 7 years, the resolution of fabrics that can be scanned in has increased so dramatically that it's now impossible to tell whether or not the render of textile on that garment in the software is real or a photograph.
In one of the shops, we were working with the idea of credit cards. We just became aware of the fact that all the credit card data was being stored. Actually, it was after the Stephen Lawrence inquiry, and some of the names of some of the jurors were not held securely online and actually escaped online. And some of these people became very vulnerable to various different threats. So we're like, hang on a minute, there is all this data that's being held online. A lot of that is your purchasing data. We did a shop installation. We used to do these retail installations that was basically a painted board, a sort of chalkboard wall that you could then invite people to write their details on. How much, if you knew all your details were going to be seen by everybody, how many of them would you want to share? That was our question.
I would like you to say, all this technology is fantastic. What are we going to do with it? Because the fact that something is technologically possible does not mean that we have to do it. And that's another point that I want to make. I don't want us to uncritically embrace technology or artificial intelligence or this and say, well, we're going to do it because it's possible. No, it's not. The other thing I want to say is we live in the environment, right? It's around us. We love it. We protect it. We say we want to reduce waste. But there is another environment which is as equally important, which is the digital environment. And as much as we want to protect the physical one, we now have to protect the digital one.
More millennials are questioning data. One of my colleagues, Phil Sheldrick, says we will all end up having data savings accounts, right? And we will keep our data, and we will give it away when it's worth something to us, or we will take money for it. But it is the new currency, and we're really looking at it now very differently. But we freely give it away when it gives us something back in return. We freely give it away when we think that it makes it convenient. And brands are using this, smart brands are using this, and it's not the difficulty of joining up the technology, it's the difficulty of using it ethically and also using it in a way that is brand appropriate and that is also what the customer wants.
I think if anyone's got any questions for the speakers, just because I think we should wrap up, it would be great to just have a one-on-one at the end before we go. But thank you everyone for coming.